Day one, it's 52 degrees out, November 19th, it's a Monday. So today was my first day at this job. I started taking videos for my last job on my first day, and I ended up making it about 30 days before I just kind of gave up. I'm not going to go into a ton of detail about my previous job. I just kind of became disenchanted with recording the work. The work was fine, but I didn't really feel proud of my work at the end of the day because some of the stuff just really isn't done by the book. Now, it wasn't unsafe, but that's really all that I'm going to say about it. So I got a new job, more pay. Only problem is it's a little farther away. But I started today. First, started out with a little orientation. The company seems really professional, which I really liked. There was a really good introduction and a walkthrough, and I got some documents and some paperwork. But overall, I got a really good vibe just from the orientation. From the orientation, I left there and I went straight to the job site and I met with a couple of guys. Now there were 5 guys there when I got there, and then one guy ended up showing up while we were at lunch. So they're working at a school that is adding in new buildings. Now we were working on one of the 3 new buildings. The building we were working on already had a concrete pad poured and already had all the conduit ran underneath the pad, and so we were just setting up temporary power so that way other contractors and us can have power at the pad, whether that be to charge your batteries or run your equipment or lights or whatever it happens to be. But it's basically just a big 3-foot by 5-foot board that's attached to a frame made of 2x4s. We ran, I think it was probably about number 2 wire. It might have been a little bigger than that. It might have been number 1, but I think it was just number 2. We ran number 2 wire all the way, so they already had a trench dug, but we ran this number 2 underground up into a 90, up through some conduit, which we had to use a conduit bender, which I had never used a PVC conduit bender before. I was really impressed by it because it heated it evenly and it really just made it super flexible, and I had never used that before. Previously we had always just used blow torches, and blow torches were fine. They just browned the conduit, which just made it really ugly. So we made sure to use the PVC heater, which was cool. It was a 4-inch heater, or made for a 4-inch pipe, and we were using 1.5 inch. So it took it a while, but we got it bent to shape. We had a 90 put on it. We had an LV put on it. Because it's temporary, we didn't run conduit the whole way, which should be fine. It's on a roof, so it's not subject to any physical damage. No one's going to be on that roof. It's only going to be there for a while. I'm not really sure, but it's not going to be there for very long. We ran it through the ceiling and then into into the panel board. We did have journeymen on site, which I was really excited about because previously that had been an issue with my previous company. But we had guys on site that were there to answer questions, and we asked several questions about what we could or couldn't do, what was temporary, what was not. And they really stood back and let us do a lot of the work and just kind of watched and stepped in. It was really cool to see in action because it wasn't something that I had really experienced a ton of before. After we ran all that wire through the ceiling, which I've done ceiling tile work before, I volunteered to do it, and that's day 1 on the job. Get in there and do some work. I'll get up there and do that. I got no problem doing that for you. Let me handle that. Let me carry that. Show them that you're there to work, that you're there to make an impression, to make a paycheck, that you're there to work. Because when those reviews come in, those journeymen, they're going to be honest about what you do and don't do. One thing I did notice a lot of is that nobody really fiddled on their phones. That's something that I was really surprised by. That just I didn't see a whole lot of phones out and about. Even when we were standing around, kind of not doing nothing. Somebody was always doing something, but sometimes it was just a 1-person job, and there's not always something for one person or for the other 2 people to do. So today we had to run a sump pump. Turns out that there was a trench probably 40 foot long, maybe 2-3 feet wide, and probably 4 foot deep, maybe a little deeper. But this trench, got filled up with water over the weekend. It's Monday, so the weekend was there, or so the weekend it filled all the way up, and we had to run a sump pump. Turns out that it was the plumbers that broke a pipe and filled up our thing. Well, we spent probably an hour running that sump pump, so I think they're probably going to charge the plumbers for that trench clear. That'll all go through the general contractor, because the general contractor hires the plumbers and hires us. I hate that this is so shaky. I'm just kind of glancing over at it, and it really is moving a lot. What else happened today? I made a pretty good joke. There was a 480 volt panel. Next to the 480 volt panel was a step down transformer that turned into 120 240 power. So I had my foot on the transformer box, and I stepped on it first to make sure I had my feet on that transformer box. I was standing on it, and I asked the journeyman, I said, "Is this a step down transformer?" And he said, "Yeah." And I said, "Well, I'm going to use it as a step up transformer," which I'm always a big fan of a pun, so I got a good chuckle out of myself, and I told those guys, if you like that, there's a lot more where that comes from, because those jokes run through my brain 24/7. I had some notes today about things I wanted to talk about in the back of my book. They asked me, they had an excavator there, a little mini excavator, and they asked if I could run it, and I was real proud to be able to say, yeah, I can run the heck out of that thing, because I put in a lot of hours previously on it. So they don't have to train me, they don't have to, give me little do-nothing tasks until I can figure out how to run it. I'm able to just jump on that thing and kill it. I will say this, though. There was a trench. That excavator was setting on top of this trench, kind of straddling it, and we left for not very long, maybe 10 minutes. When I came back, that trench was completely filled up, which I thought was really impressive, because he must have really had to finagle that excavator around. The fact that I jumped into the ceiling work. Okay, so last one, I think it's my last one, second to last one. So we ran this wire straight down through the ceiling tile. Now the ceiling tile already had holes cut in it for the conduit, but we just ran this wire free down this wall and strapped it to the wall. Now, because the wire, because the ceiling tiles were already cut, I had to cut a new section out of the ceiling tiles, and they weren't that soft, kind of foamy ceiling tile. They were actually like this hard, almost maybe not quite a ceramic, but maybe like a plaster ceiling tile. Anyways, I took a Sawzall, and there's already a section maybe an inch by a half inch cut out, and so I cut one side down about another half inch. I cut another side down a half inch, and so that left me with kind of like an H. It's hard to describe, but what I did was I had this half inch by half inch piece that I needed to break out, and at first I tried to score it with my knife, and that wasn't doing very well, scoring it and breaking it. And so what I did was I took that Sawzall and I cut it right down the middle, so it was two like quarter-inch pieces by half-inch pieces, and then I held the Sawzall straight up, and I gunned the Sawzall, and I just used the tip of that blade as kind of a hammer to just knock that sucker loose, and it ended up working really well. I was really happy about that, because everything fit really well. And then the last thing that I wrote down today was that I have previously called them port connectors, but they're actually called Polaris hubs. I'm not sure why they're called that. I'm sure there's a reason. I'll have to look that up. But I've always called them port connectors. So that's cool that I know the correct term for that now. Everything has 5 or 6 names, so having the right name definitely helps. Tool of the day, definitely my gloves. I have 2. They're deerskin gloves, and they're a mess right now just because they've had plenty of use on them, but I'm going to eventually replace them. My last hour of my shift, I went without my gloves. I had already rounded them up, but I got real muddy. I don't know if you can see it or not because of the contrast, but I just got a ton of mud on my hands. So hopefully I'll remember to keep my gloves on full time tomorrow, so I don't have to even worry about this at all. So I guess that's really it for the day. All in all, it was a really good day. I worked really hard. My steel-toed boots are kind of rubbing my big toe in an uncomfortable way, which sucks because these were like, I don't know, $70 boots. I'm gonna keep giving them a try, but I think it's gonna keep rubbing. I can't really imagine, if the steel toe, there's something wrong with that steel toe that's making it farther, because it definitely doesn't do it on the left side. Maybe my foot's too wide. If it doesn't do it on the left side, then there's probably something wrong with that right side. So I've got some black steel-toe boots that I'm probably going to have to switch to. But it sucks because I just paid $70 for these boots, and they really are just rubbing my toe raw. Maybe I should just let it rub it raw and let that blister turn into a callus. Who knows? But alright, well, I'm 11 minutes in. I guess I'm going to turn it in. I'm starting an Instagram account. I'll try to post even just one picture a day would be really cool. I got a picture today of the sump pump hose pumping out water, so I'll get that done today. I'm gonna stop here in a minute and upload this video. I've got good service all the way home, so I'll be able to upload videos on the spot as opposed to waiting until the next day or the next evening, or an evening turns into a week and a week turns into a month like last time. So we'll keep uploading videos every day. Have a good one.